So here's a bit of a loaded topic that people have been asking me to cover, and it has to do with the recent interview that Bloomberg, the website, don't bother to go check it out. It's behind a paywall unless you have to use backdoor means, but they did an interview with Hasbro CEO Chris Cox, and a big drop and mention that they are going to stop co-financing future movie projects, citing one example of Transformers 1 underperforming financially at the box office, and how that is probably going to affect how we are going to be getting Transformer movies in the future, let alone other brands in general. Now, I mean, there's a lot going on here. Like, Chris Cox, the individual, the current CEO of Hasbro, is a very different cat than what we had before from the Hassenfelds and the Brian Goldners before that. This individual comes from the gaming world. Before that, he was a Microsoft dude. And, he is what he is. I don't want to sound rude, but judging by his perpetually always sunburned face, he's probably never in the Rhode Island office. Let's put it that way. He's probably always out there just chilling like a villain in LA or Hawaii or anywhere but being on the floor of toy development. And there's been interviews, there's been a lot of controversial stuff he said, but at the end of the day, this is a guy that was put as the CEO of Hasbro with one thing and one thing mostly in focus, and that is tabletop gaming, whether it be Magic the Gathering or digital gaming from any shape or form. And he feels in a lot of ways that will be the future of the company. And well, to be honest, he's not wrong. When you look at what is selling and what isn't, cardboard Magic the Gathering shtick is going to always sell 10 to 1 to much more expensive, overproduced plastic. And in a world where kids don't really care about toys as much and they prefer the digital world and video games, and that is in a lot of ways the future, combined with the fact that the stuff that they do with tabletop, whether it be Magic the Gathering or otherwise, with D&D, has a very strong following too with an older demographic. So it's something where I wouldn't be surprised if they want to go more in that direction. But that being said, it is something that is concerning for us as fans of Transformers. Now, I'm going to put my business brain in one spot and my fan hardcore Transformer brain in the other spot, because there's two ways to really look at this. How do we save Transformers? How do we keep Hasbro happy and in the green? Because I'm really worried to see that Q4. Between all the expenses that have been cut, people who've been fired and everything like that, I think we are far from out of the weeds and the problems that are going to be coming. And sure, they could turn to, Magic the Gathering and use that as a way to pick things up. Look, Magic the Gathering, which has always been a very fantasy-related brand and always focused on their wizards and their planeswalkers and everything like that, they saw more profit and money taking their Magic the Gathering and crossing it over with Lord of the Rings and Marvel characters. That Marvel Secret Lair that came out sold out like instantly. So actions speak louder than words, and once again, that stuff is more important to them than staying true to their core brands. And looking back at Transformers, do you want to stay true to Transformers and have it be a toy-related brand that has fiction that accompanies it? Or do you take Transformers and just make it a digital product and somehow try to find money making that? I know that sounds scary. I know that sounds almost sacrilege, but that's the business side of it, where it's kind of scary where they might want to go with it, but dare I say they might find more success with that. They have plans to do Transformer video games. We've been talking about them forever, and it's something where if they do find success with them, if they do double down on the brand and make some really AAA Transformer games and focus on the brand in that way, then maybe we could... I've always felt... They're getting some free stuff right here tonight, Hasbro, because I know there's some guys that are listening. But I've always felt that one way that you could really do the brand justice going into the new modern era is it's always been where the eyeballs are. It's not television anymore. It's not streaming services anymore. And dare I say, especially coming out of the big V and COVID, it's definitely not the movie theaters anymore. It used to be that that was the platform that said you were the big dog, that you got the most attention. But when you ask any kid under the age of 12 what is the most important stuff to them, what is the people that they look up to, what are the celebrities, it's memes and it's YouTubers and it's streamers. It's people that aren't mainstream to mom and pop, but definitely in the schoolyard, everyone knows who these people are, whether it be iShowSpeed or Mr. Beast or any of these individuals. And what I'm trying to get at with all of that is you got to be where those eyeballs are. Things change. It's just the way it is. The practices that were done of making a toy line successful in the 80s, you got to have a comic, you got to have a cartoon, and then that toy line will flourish. Maybe a movie, but that's a little more tougher in the 80s. But that practice was not the same practice done 20 years prior in the 1960s. You didn't need any of those things. And yet for somehow our practice in the 80s is supposed to still apply in the 2000s, is supposed to apply in the 2020s. Are we supposed to apply the same mentality of monetization of toy product from the 1980s 40 years later, when you would have never in Hasbro in the 1980s looked at the 1940s and how it would have been done? Evolution is key. And it's something where we have to see where those eyeballs are. And if the eyeballs are in mobile devices, if the eyeballs are on video games, then maybe the only way that Transformers could truly find a market and success is to really double down on some AAA amazing storytelling through interactive video game play. It's something where in a world where War for Cybertron and Fall of Cybertron are so ridiculously successful as AAA games that then it makes kids want to go out and buy action figures of those characters. In the same way that an Among Us could be this overnight sensation mobile game and all of a sudden there's licensed product of it, or be Fortnite or anything else of that matter. Look how much Minecraft does with whether it be their Lego stuff or their actual Minecraft related stuff. No one is buying a Pokemon figure because of its absolutely amazing, engaging play as a non-articulated PVC figure. They're buying a Pokemon figure because of how much they love the game. So it's the same thing here. No longer can Transformers rely on media that's on television, let alone media that's going to be in movies, to be able to sell the toys. You need to focus on where those eyeballs are. And it's going to have to be where the digital media is. Chris Cox is not wrong. I don't agree with a lot of things Chris Cox says. I'll be honest with you. But the one thing that might be right here is that you're going to have to start focusing on video games and digital media entertainment in order to revitalize these guys. When Brian Goldner came into the company in the early 2000s, he revitalized Transformers, G.I. Joe, Tonka, and all those other brands by applying the mentalities that he had learned in the late 90s working with Bandai and the Power Rangers brand. It was a great thing. He looked at Power Rangers. Let's take this IP that's Japanese-based, repackage it for an American audience. It's cheaper to do that. Boom, boom, boom. And look what happened. Unicron Trilogy, Japan to American product. Very easy stuff. Co-development. I could go on and on. Something that almost better for Aaron Archer to talk about than me. But it's something where I feel that that is the future. I really do. And as sad as it to see them saying we're going to stop co-financing movies, let's be real. We got literally one of the greatest Transformer movies we have been asking for years, and no one showed up. It's not that the movie was bad. It's not that there's something wrong with the Transformers brand. It's that no one is going to movies anymore. And once in a while, you do have a slew of people that go to see a movie, a Barbie movie, something like that. Something that they feel might be a big cultural event and you got to go out of your way. Kind of in the same way that you ignore 99% of restaurants, but then you get that one restaurant all your friends are talking about. So you go, you know what? All right, I'll go check it out. But unfortunately, Transformers 1 wasn't that restaurant. It was amazing. We all loved it, but it just didn't have the buzz enough for the rest of the normies and the rest of the world to go out and see it. And those platforms are just not as strong as they were. Look at the Marvel movies and their lack of success, and you could argue even, well, because those movies aren't good anymore. Granted, that's true too, but there once was a time where they could have put out anything and people showed up. Now no one's showing up. We were catered through the big V to wait for streaming services. Oh, a movie comes out, wait a couple weeks, it'll be on streaming. The quickness of stuff hitting digital and being on streaming services after being in theaters is quite insane. I mean, I remember it used to be a movie came out, it was in theaters for about a month, and then you had to wait a couple months more before it even reached home video. But that's not the case anymore. Now a movie finishes its run after a month, and then a couple weeks after that, or even less, and before you know it, it's already on a streaming service. It's already on DVD. It's already on Blu-ray. So, again, this is a loaded topic. I know it's going to have a lot of comments and replies, and I welcome those, but it is going to be an extremely loaded topic. I don't even want to bother with with images on the screen or anything. I just want this to be a deep discussion, because there's a lot going on here. There's a lot being said in between the lines, but I will say this, and I said it when we did the segment with Aaron Archer on his channel, the Toy Armada with Aaron Archer, where we talked about Transformers 1. I just feel that if we do get a sequel to Transformers 1, it's going to be a direct-to streaming service kind of thing. I think that it's too dangerous right now to go onto the big screen and take that risk again on something that, even though it was well received, didn't bring in the money. And at the end of the day, money is more important to any of these companies. Look at the past Transformer movies. They were not Shakespeare, but they brought in money, and that's all that matters. None of them ever felt bad that they put out a bad movie that made, $1.3 billion. They didn't care about that. They cared about the money that was made and the toys that were sold. And Revenge of the Fallen and Dark of the Moon, I know hot take. Some people love Dark of the Moon. I'm not so big on it personally. But the point is that, even though those movies made a lot of money and sold a lot of toys, they weren't that great. And Hasbro didn't care about them being great. All they cared about was making that money. And now it's the flip side. Now we have some pretty stellar product that comes out. We have some amazing movie that just came out in Transformers 1, but the product didn't sell. Movies didn't go, people didn't go out to see them in theaters. And that's how they're going to react. Again, final conclusion, they got to double down on the video game stuff. They have to talk to companies that are serious, just like how they talked with Activision all those years ago and Platinum Games with the Devastation. And they need to legitimately talk about bringing Transformers into the 21st century proper with some good games, some really darn good games, some open world or RPG elements, whatever you are doing. Create a player, create a Cybertronian open world planet Cybertron, absolute madness that could exist so that we could just have a world, number one, that could coexist with the younger demo that normally would not engage with us anymore. They don't care about toys. I go to, gosh, no joke, maybe 13, 14 toy conventions a year, counting TFCon as part of that. I don't see young kids anymore that care. They don't. They're on their phone. They are tuned out. They are done. And we have to get their eyeballs. And their eyeballs are not on TV screens. They're not in the theaters. And they're sure as hell not in the toy aisle or on comic books. You want to move the needle of pop culture? You got to go where those eyeballs are. And they are the future. It might make you cringe. Ugh, oh my God. These kids are the future. But we've heard that line many times before with multiple generations. And the fool that doesn't look at them and recognize that they are the future and to cater to that are the one that is going to be lost of the financial benefits of it. Let me know what you think about all of this, guys. And thanks again for listening to the Transformer Slag podcast and this little rant here. We will not be going to Japan this weekend. Some stuff has moved around and everything. We'll keep you updated on that. You will have me tomorrow on Saturday night. So we will be talking. And let me know what you think about all of this. And once again, thank you for listening. And I'll talk to you tomorrow in the near future.
Transformers